All right, so in today's video, I thought it would be a really good idea to talk about how to write a spoken word and also perform it. I've been doing spoken word for the past 4 or 5 years, and friends constantly ask me how to get into it, or maybe they've written something and they want me to check it out. So that's why I'm making this video, not only for them, but also for other people who might have the same questions. So before we get started, let me explain what spoken word means to me. Spoken word means a lot to me. I think it's a great way to self-express, to be creative, and I feel like it's something that anyone can do. So if you're that person wondering, how can I get started and get into writing spoken words myself, I'm gonna tell you. So the first thing that I think you should start with is beginning with something that's personal to you, whether it's a personal experience, personal feelings, some thoughts that have been swimming around in your head. Write something that means something to you. This is important because when you write something personal, it's authentic. It's something that you tend to put a lot more into, and that's gonna come off to the listener once you finish your spoken word and they're hearing the words that you're saying. Spoken word is a pure art form of self-expression, and I think it's super important that when you're writing, to write something that's real. Now, once you have that feeling, that thought, that experience that you're gonna write about, I think it's important to know that you have to understand those feelings. You have to understand those thoughts. You have to be able to reflect, self-reflect. And again, that's important because when your audience is listening to the things that you write, you want them to understand. You don't want to be all over the place and they're like, I don't know what this person is trying to say. You want your message to be clear and concise. So understanding your feelings and your thoughts is super important. Now, if you're going through something and you're confused about it, write about being confused because you understand the fact that you are confused, and that's something that'll resonate with people. But again, it depends. Spoken word is like, you're free to do anything in spoken word, so you can write about multiple feelings, but what I'm saying is have an understanding of what you're trying to say when you're saying it. Now, once you have your topic and you're like, okay, I'm ready to write, a lot of people get stuck because they're like, I don't know where to start. And my advice to you is don't even think about where to start, just write. Write down everything. Don't worry about how it sounds. Don't worry about making things rhyme. Don't worry about being super witty and super creative. Just write. In this exercise, what you write can be super long, it could be super short, it doesn't matter. The point is to get something on the page. And once you have your thoughts on a page, you're able to go back and polish it up and just make it sound a little bit better. And by the way, you do not have to rhyme in spoken word. That's the cool thing about spoken word. You can do whatever you want. You can rhyme everything, you can rhyme some things, or you don't have to rhyme at all. I think a lot of people think they have to rhyme when they're writing spoken word, and that's just not true at all. Express yourself the way you feel is best and just go for it. So once you've gone back and you kind of polished things and made them sound nice, you're probably not gonna like what you have. Just keep working on it. Sometimes it takes me weeks and months to write a spoken word. Not everything is gonna be done in one sitting. Not everything is gonna be done in 5 minutes and now you're ready to present it to the world. Take your time. Write and write and write until it feels right to you. Write until it feels right. That's a bar, see? I'm doing spoken word without even trying. Now, you have your topic, you have your spoken word, you've polished it, it's ready to go. Now is the hard part. Now you have to perform it. You don't have to perform it, but generally spoken word is meant to be performed. So before you go out and stand in front of people and perform, my advice is to find someone you trust. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and perform it to them. Let them hear your spoken word. This way you can kind of gauge if what you're saying is coming across the right way. I've written spoken words and people go, man, like, yo, this feels sad. And I'm like, oh, nah, I didn't mean it to be that way. So now I know that the way I wrote the spoken word isn't giving the message that I want to, give off. So I have to go back and kind of rewrite things and change things around. So it's important to kind of test test your product on people before you stand in front of a crowd. Once you kind of get a general idea of like, people are like, hey, that's good. And by the way, when you find people who are going to be honest with you, not yes men, not people who are just going to be like, oh, you did something great, it sounds good. You want people who are going to be like, hey, yo, love what you did, but I'm kind of confused on this part. And once you do that, now practice in the mirror. Say the words out loud. Hear yourself, record yourself on your phone and just play it back, listen to it, see if it sounds the way you want it to sound. Pauses and breaths all mean something in a spoken word. Your performance kind of sells the spoken word. Sometimes a pause or a breath in a spoken word means so much more when you put it in the right spot. So it's important for you to nail this and get it right. And it's going to take some practice. This doesn't come right away. You have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until you get it the way you want it to be. Also, if you're nervous, that's never gonna go away. I've performed spoken word in front of, I can't tell you how many crowds, and every single time I get nervous. You can put me in a crowd of 4 people and I will be nervous, or you can put me in a crowd of a couple thousand and I'll be nervous the same way. I get nervous. So don't let that stop you. Keep it going. It's gonna happen. Another piece of advice is don't rush through your poem. Sometimes that nervousness causes you to like speed up, and that kind of takes the juice out of what you're trying to say, unless doing your poem fast is part of it. So just try to take your time, take a deep breath, and perform. Also, and this is just my personal advice, when you are performing your spoken word, if you can help it, please do not read. The reason I don't think you should read your spoken word is because it takes away from making a connection with people. For example, when I perform my spoken words, I like to look people in the eye. Sometimes I point out to the crowd and I'm kind of like talking to them while I'm doing my spoken word, and I'm making that connection, that personal connection. I think eye contact is super important. But also, and here's where being creative comes into play, making little to no eye contact could be part of your performance. For example, let's say I'm doing a spoken word about being shy or nervous or something like that. And so while I'm doing my spoken word, I'm just like barely looking at people and I'm kind of like looking down and I'm really playing the part. That adds to the spoken word. So again, just depends on your spoken word, but when you're performing it, you're actually performing it. You don't want to just get in the habit of sitting there reading to people, or even if you're not reading, you don't want to just kind of recite words that you memorize. You want to make these words come to life with the way you deliver it. Now, all these things come with practice and just doing it over and over again, just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Remember to be your authentic self. Don't copy others. Don't look at what other people are doing and try to emulate. Do your own thing. Don't be preachy. That was one of the things that I think I made the mistake of doing in my older spoken words. And my wife told me one day, hey, you know, this is coming off as preachy, so you want to be careful not to do that, because that will turn people off right away. It doesn't matter if that's not what you meant. It matters how people receive it. So it's important not to be preachy. A good way to not be preachy, a lot of times, if you have a lot to say and you're trying to like be super direct, talk about yourself. So for example, if I'm talking about getting my life together, instead of like being like, hey, you need to get your life together, you can say, hey, I need to get my life together. You know what I'm saying? That way it comes off less preachy and you're still able to say something that resonates with people. Now, I've said a lot of things in this video on how to write and perform a spoken word. And one thing that's important to remember is that these are just tips and pieces of my advice. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. Spoken word is freedom of expression, and you literally can do whatever you want. I think the only rule that I would say that is super critical to writing a successful spoken word is to be authentic. If you're writing something that has nothing to do with you, if you're writing about something that you really don't understand, people can see that. If you're being fake, if you're making up feelings, people can see through all of that. Be authentic, be real, be true to yourself, and just go out there and do your thing. So I hope this video helped you if you're looking into getting into writing and performing spoken word. If you are, let me know down in the comments. I will check you out. I will go to your video, watch it, and I will be like, hey, That was dope. You did it. You went out there and you did your first spoken word and you killed it. So let me know. Let me check you out. Leave advice in the comments if you're a spoken word artist yourself and you have advice for other people. That way, when people come here, they can see it and go, oh, that's another good thing. Because maybe I didn't think about something or say something, you know? I'm not perfect. I try to be, but I'm not. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. It's your boy K-Soul. Peace.